I don't know if you've heard, actually, you probably haven't heard. I just spoke about it over the weekend. My second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, is now on Audible. And
Awesome.
that means your story, Truck in a Toolbox, is out there on Audible. So I just want to give you a heads up. And again, thank you all those years ago for being an early guest on my channel.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks.
There you go. So we talked about our first channel or in the first interview about a depression. Topic number 2 for us is hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is really interesting. Hyperinflation was a buzzword I heard about 9 months ago, and I thought we killed it, right? Hyperinflation, for folks that don't know, is 50% inflation in a month. We currently have 9.1 or what, or 8.1 or whatever it is. It's bad, but it ain't hyperinflation. So let's not get it twisted. Peter Schiff yesterday, and if you don't know who Peter Schiff is, go look him up. This is from his Twitter feed, is screaming that the Federal Reserve, by raising rates, is setting up the dominoes to have hyperinflation in the United States. So I had to ask, is that on your radar? Is that a concern you have, Mr. Greg Dickerson?
No, I mean, hyperinflation is going to be difficult to get to, and raising rates does the opposite.
Yeah, that's what
You know,
yeah.
yeah, it has the opposite effect. So Peter Schiff, I mean, he's obviously very successful. He's obviously intelligent, but he's somewhat of an alarmist and an
Yep.
extreme. He has some extreme views and extreme calls. Like he's one to tell you Bitcoin's worthless, is going to go to zero, and that's just not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Can it lose a lot of its value and stay low? Sure. But it's not going to zero. It's not going away, and he
Mm-hmm.
he thinks it's just eventually going to go away, and he calls it a Ponzi, and that's really not even what it really is. It's really more of a pyramid. So
Mm-hmm.
are stocks. You need more people in to drive prices.
Mm-hmm.
You need more capital inflows. That's what it takes to drive prices. But hyperinflation. I mean, yeah, Turkey,
Yeah.
Venezuela,
Yeah.
Europe with energy prices. You're seeing spikes
Yeah,
there, and we
Europe.
might
Ooh.
see. Yeah, so you're seeing it there in sectors. But in the United States, it would take a serious dollar issue, to create something like
Yeah.
that, and a severe supply, issue in
Yeah.
order to create hyperinflation. Now you might see it here or there, like lumber. You could call that hyperinflated for a period, and real estate, is hyperinflated over the last couple of years. But in terms of just the average things that we're spending, well, I mean, we've seen a little bit of it in terms of those numbers that they put out, man. I mean, we've been in double digit inflation
I
from
agree.
a real Main Street level in terms of the things that we buy every single day and consume. But, in terms of the entire, United States economy experiencing hyperinflation,
Yeah.
I just don't think that's a realistic thing that can happen, right now. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
there's just too much supply out there still.
Yeah. In fairness to Peter, let me share the dominoes that he sees. Kind of step one is the Fed being aggressive, which again, I think all three of us, Peter included, would say is the opposite of what hyperinflation is. But where he goes next is the alarmist, everything's on fire, is rates are going to go up severe, like Great Depression level contraction. Then the Fed does what it does. It's going to do QE infinity. It's going to take rates. He's like, rates are going negative this time. They took them to zero. They're going to go negative next time. And then basically you saw them buy corporate bonds last time. Now they're going to buy stocks, and the dollar's going to do this, and the world's over, right? That's kind of his talk track.
Well, he said that last time too about the Fed going negative rates and this and that, and it didn't happen. Now there is some concern there that if raising rates does enough destruction in the economy, we fall into a deep recession, then the Fed has to stimulate, right? Because that's their goal. They got to stimulate the economy and
Mm-hmm.
create stable prices and full employment. But again, the job market is so way out of whack. It's going to take a long time to create any kind of a substantial labor problem
Mm-hmm.
where the Fed has to act to stimulate the economy to create jobs.
Yeah.
And everybody, like I said, the markets are bouncing and all that because they think now the Fed's going to stop at 75 basis points. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what the markets are pricing in right now,
Yeah.
getting to that 4%. They're stopping there. And then there's a lot of consensus out there that they're going to reverse and pull back. Now we have seen hyperinflation in asset prices, housing market, stocks, crypto. We've seen that. But when you say hyperinflation, you're talking about gas is $10. You're talking about a loaf of bread's $10. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
milk's, whatever. I mean, we got almost to $5, on
Mm-hmm.
average for gas. So you can see it in some areas, but that's what you'd really need is what the people are consuming every single day. doubling and tripling. That's hyperinflation. And, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, we started to get close. If the Fed hadn't acted and started raising rates, we could have gotten there.
Yeah. And hyperinflation, and really inflation in general, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Basically, where you as a consumer believe prices will be higher tomorrow than today, so you just buy today what you need tomorrow. That's really not occurring, at least yet, right? But that's really kind of what's happening into Turkey and other countries, where basically your consumers are getting rid of all their cash. It's completely worthless. So they're stockpiling stuff. So you're just seeing, store shelves empty and ripped off, and you have store clerks resetting prices at lunch breaks, and hyperinflation is a nasty problem, and it'd be a problem.
Yeah, it can be, and generally that comes from a currency debasement. And
Correct.
what you're seeing happen in Turkey with what they're doing. QE to infinity, continuing to keep rates low, even with prices
Cutting rate.
rising.
They're cutting
And
rates with
yeah,
inflation.
and I guess we're going to talk about deflation and stagflation next. And
Correct.
that's more realistic in what's in the cards than some sort of hyperinflation, because again, the Fed's destroying demand, and it's not working.
Yeah.
So how can you inflate, you know, by continuing to destroy demand? At some point that's going to come back into balance, and we're going to get a lot of answers this week. There's a lot of good economic data coming out this week, but yeah, like you said, recession's a mindset, inflation's a mindset, you know, but stores still have a lot of inventory, shelves are stocked again. We're not seeing the things like we saw during the pandemic, where you could have seen real hyperinflation.
Yeah,
If that
they
would
were
have
set up
continued.
to be a problem. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, take what happened in toilet paper and times it, put that on cereal or bread or and that could have been a problem.
And we saw a little bit of it, here recently with the supply chain issues. I mean, there were some things that the stores couldn't get, and shelves were empty, and prices went up a little bit, and that's kind of what happens. And then you see, I can't remember the term, where you're buying the same package but there's less in it, and they make it a little bit smaller.
Yeah, shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation. We're seeing that,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're seeing some things out there.
Yeah, I think hyperinflation again. I think the Fed knows how to deal with it, right? If that took hold, and again, it's funny. I think it's today actually. We get inflation expectations. It may have come out at 8 o'clock, and I haven't seen it yet. Inflation expectations, last time I saw it, were coming down. We're retreating, and it's all because of gas, right? It's all because of gas. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see hyperinflation in the cards, at least with the current set of economic variables. But it is certainly interesting to think about.
I think the consumer expectations are the transitory. I think a lot of people still think that this inflation is
I
temporary
agree.
and is transitory, and I think it's peaked and plateaued. I don't think it's coming backwards, because again,
I agree.
where I sit on Main Street, in a parking lot of a shopping center, the only thing I've seen come down is gas.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think headline comes in, core stays elevated, sticky. And for the first time in my 40 years, we're going to understand why the Fed has two metrics, headline and core, because headline can be jiggered with
Yeah.
and core can't. So yeah, we're going to see that. So Greg, where can people find you?
Yeah. GregDickerson.com. All my info's there. Go check it out.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.